recording. And our first line is going to go to Grayson.
あれは、その間にうずくまっている。Um, what is this, Sue?
Su means nest.
Mhm.
So we
Ah,
got
okay.
nest and nest. Do you know what Ida
Um,
means? That's very important.
I've heard it before. Is it between?
It is in between. So we're in between two Sues.
So in between two nests. Zuku mateiru.
This means
Um,
to crouch.
okay. So we're crouching in between two nests.
Who
Or Annie
was?
is crouching in between two
Yes,
nests.
Annie was. And the next
Annie.
line goes to Zapik.
その後ろに大きな恐竜が兄に追いかぶされように立っているではないか。えー there is a big dinosaur behind Annie.
Yep.
されように And it's standing like Busarione. Busare, what is that?
I'm not busareru. So it's oi kabusareru. Do you know what the verb o means?
Uh, oh, no, I don't think so.
Mm. O is to cover something, like so you can't see it anymore. Like snow can cover the ground type of idea. And then kabusareru is just helping to modify that to let us know we're not literally probably covering something. So the kaburu, kabusu, probably, it's meaning to like call or cast upon somebody, kind of like a shadow can be
Yeah.
covering something, kind of idea. So the large dinosaur is standing in a way that causes a shadow basically the cast onto Annie. What is this Dewa Naika
Yeah.
telling us?
Well, it's basically like, isn't it like that?
Basically, isn't it like that? It's the negative, like, wait, isn't that a huge ass dinosaur towering over my little sister? Next line goes to Grayson.
口がアヒ、アヒル、
Yep.
um, アヒルのくちばしのような形をしている。ああ、アヒル。Um, a duck's mouth, or maybe like the bill.
Pause. So
Um,
Japanese is a language where it's not about the sentence structure, it's about the particles. So we have the particle ga, right?
uh-huh,
And then we have the particle
uh-huh.
no, and we have the particle no, and we have the particle na, and we got the particle o, and then we have shitteru. So there's no the
Mhm.
duck's mouth, right? It's the duck. The mouth is shitteru. The duck is modifying kuchibashi, which is modifying no yona, which is modifying katachi. So katachi is actually the beginning of that whole noun phrase with the adjective, 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 adjective describing it.
Uh-huh. What is karachi?
Kat- Katachi? Katachi means shape. So shape o shiteru means it is in the shape of. So the mouth is in the shape of what?
Um, uh, a duck's beak.
Yep, it is in a shape like a duck's beak. That's exactly what it's saying. So it's not the duck's beak. It's saying the mouth is the shape of a duck's beak. And this is the yo we
Okay.
saw last week, which is being used to describe, in this context again, uh, something that looks like something, but isn't actually that thing.
Mm.
So the next line is going to go to Zapik.
確かあれは、カモノハシ竜の仲間のアナトサウルスだ。Eh, that is surely uh some type like I don't know how to translate these dinosaur
Hmm.
names though.
Yeah.
Kamono
Apparently, kamo no
Hashi.
hashi is means platypus, apparently. So
Okay.
the
Huh.
platypus kind of dinosaur.
Yeah. So it's like the platypus dinosaur Nakama is like in the same group.
Yes.
Uh, and it is Asotosaurus.
Yep, that is his name. Perfect.
Yeah.
Um, and next line we'll go to Grayson.
先の、ラッパのような音は、この恐竜が起こって吠えていたのだ。うーん、
So Rapa we saw last time. That was the trumpet.
ah, okay. So I should start. Okay. We have the wa, and the oto is sound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a subject. And then there's this dinosaur, ga. Um,
Okay, so you're really doing really good. You're trying to separate things. You saw there was a wa and a ga. One of these two
uh-huh.
things mark the subject. Which one is doing that? Do you know? The wa or the ga?
It's the ga,
It is the ga,
I
correct.
think.
Wa is for
Yeah.
topic. So in this context, we can basically
Yeah.
ignore this whole front thing to make the sentence even smaller. So you were doing so great. So we have kono kyoryu ga da. However, what's actually going on here is that we have a relative clause, and this ga is actually attached to this verb. Kono kyoryu ga okotte hoiteita. Do you know what okoru means?
Okoru. I'm not
Okoru.
sure.
Okoru is to be angry.
Mm.
So this dinosaur is angry and is doing hoeru. Hoeru. Do you know what that means?
No.
That's like barking. Ruff, ruff. Hoeru. So
Mm.
this dinosaur is barking and it is angry. That's what that's saying. So actually, the wa here is actually doing the subject of the main sentence of this thing. So you have to use like context for that. So that's a relative clause right here. So we can just cross that out. So now our other main sentence is Saki no rappa no yona oto wa da. No da. Do you know? So this is a little bit complicated. Do you know what the no is? I vaguely mentioned it. I feel like in one of our first two meetings, and then we didn't see it for like afterwards for a long time. Do you know what this no is?
Um, I think it's not the possessive no.
You're right.
It's
Not
it's
possessive.
like, was it the one marking the relative clause?
Kind of. You're always going to see it with a relative clause at the end of it, but it's not marking the relative clause. It's what the relative clause is modifying. Because a relative clause always needs to modify something, right? A relative clause is an adjective clause. It needs a noun to describe, and no is our noun. It is a pronoun, which basically
Mm-hmm.
means the noun doesn't have a defined meaning. It's defined by the context. The context is normally whatever the subject is of the sentence. That like when it's at the end of the sentence, like that. The no da means this is probably oto. So it's saying Oto wa oto da. What does that mean? Oto wa oto da.
Ottawa is the sound.
Yes. Oto wa oto da.
Otoda,
Oto wa oto desu.
maybe like it's making noise.
No, it says a sound. What is desu?
Exists.
A
There is a
sound
sound.
is a sound. A sound is a sound. A sound equals sound. Oto wa oto da. A sound is a sound. That's a sentence right here. A sound
Okay.
is a sound. And now we're describing these sounds with adjectives. The first sound, right, is being described as which sound? Saki no rappa no yona oto.
Like a trumpet.
The sound that was like a trumpet was a sound. That's what the sentence says so far. Saki no rappa no yona oto wa no oto da. Which that no is just a pronoun meaning oto, sound. And then we're describing the second sound with この恐竜が怒っている掘っていたのが. So this dinosaur is angry barking sound. So the sound of an angry dinosaur barking. So what exactly is the sound that we heard earlier that was a trumpet? What is it? What kind of sound is it?
The trumpet sound is the dinosaurs barking. So
Yes, that is what it is. Exactly. So the way you do it is the sound that was like a trumpet playing earlier. It is a sound of a barking, angry dinosaur. Specifically, this dinosaur right here is what it's saying. So you just work from the bottom going up. So this is his pronoun now, being normally the same as the subject. Oto. And
I feel
yeah.
like I've read the ga and the wa, like the topic and the subject, but I've always been very confused about what exactly the difference between topic and subject is.
So in most sentences there isn't a difference, but in some sentences there is a difference. So in general, if you're talking about a very basic sentence, the subject of your sentence is going to be the topic. And since we both speak English, this makes it harder for us to identify because we actually use stress language to identify what our subtopic of the sentence is. For example, I didn't kill 3 men. This is a pretty basic sentence. Our subject is I. I didn't kill 3 men, right? But that's a little bit different than if I said I didn't kill 3 men. If we added stress to the kill, the context feels a little bit different, right? I didn't kill 3 men. Sounds like maybe I did something else to 3 men, like perhaps I tortured them, right? Or if I said I didn't kill 3 men and put stress on the 3, it insinuates we killed a different amount of men. Maybe I killed 5, maybe I killed 2, right? Or I didn't kill 3 men would mean I probably killed 3 things, but they weren't men. Perhaps they were children or women or animals or something like that. I didn't kill 3 men makes it show more that we're putting a focus on the action of not doing the action rather than really being I or whatever. But by default, when we see the sentence, the assumption is, right, that the topic is the I. I didn't kill 3 men. It's I. Someone else did it. But if we move the stress around, we can change the meaning of the sentence slightly. And that's basically what wa is. Wa is our topic marker, and it can basically go all over in the different locations to kind of help with that kind of contextual insinuation that's going on in the sentence. So by default, wa is going to be marking the subject. And it's most commonly used with these kind of long sentences. When you have a relative clause in the sentence, we're more likely not going to see ga marking the main subject of the sentence, because then it gets confusing. If you had oto ga here and kono ryoryu ga, it is understandable, but it's so much easier to read if you have the wa to make us know we are talking about the sound we heard earlier. That's the most important information I want you to focus on. Everything else is just kind of supplemental to it. And then contextually we go, well, since sound was most important, we can make the assumption with all the verbs in here that this one right here is actually part of the relative clause rather than being part of the main overall sentence subject. So this is a subject of the relative clause versus this right here is a subject of the whole sentence as a whole in this specific context. We don't really have a lot of examples here of the wa going over somewhere else, but it's equally likely wa can mark anything except for even the verb actually can be marked by wa. Um, you just aren't taught that in class, but you will see that, especially in negation, right? That's the dewa nai, right? That's
Yeah.
because the most important information is the fact that we're talking about the negativeness of something, right? Even if you had two was in there, it's acting as a contrasting marker of putting stress on the two objects. So negative form is just the verb des, right? Is into te form de, so we can add nai to it, just like we add nai to other things, like tatteru, tattenai, right? Standing, not standing. So de is just the te form, like tatte is the te form of tatsu, and then nai meaning not right now. So not right now, this is not true. And we're adding the wa for stress because negative should be stress. It's very important. We want to add that as our topic.
Hmm.
It's theoretically possible that you don't always need the wa, but I can't really think of a sentence where the negative is not important to the sentence. So because it's adding a contrastive important element to it. So everybody's going to use the wa by default, you know. So that is what that is. Um, but yeah, next
Okay.
line goes to Zapik.
落ち着け、兄。今行くから。Be quiet, Annie. I'm going now.
Perfect. Choo. Wait. Yeah. It's right. He says I'm going now, but it it sounds so weird in English. He's saying I'm coming now. I'm gonna go over there. But he can't. Every time he
Yeah.
doesn't say come, right? It's because he's the subject to the sentence. And Zapek, I'll give you the next sentence for you as well.
ジャックはできるだけ静かに兄の方へ近づいていった。Jack tried to walk, or he walked as quietly as he could, or he walked
You're right.
quietly uh, in in Annie's like direction.
Yep. And he went to
Uh,
Johnny's direction as quietly as he could. Whether or not he's
yeah.
walking or running isn't actually specified in the sentence. And the next sentence is going to go to Grayson.
すると、あなとセウルス。あなとセウルス。
That is the dinosaur with the big bill.
が前足を持ち上げて、また、
Boo!
ブブブー
Boo!
ブーと吠えた。Okay. We don't have any was or gas, but
You're right. So we have to go. There's a ga right over here.
wait, there's a guy. Okay, yeah. So this type of dinosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the front feet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay. Is that raising the front feet?
You're right. It raises its front foot and does what?
Uh, uh, barks.
You're right. It barks. It goes boo once again. Perfect. Do.
What's the suruto?
Sudo. Do you know what sudo
Or
means?
To do?
To do. And then we have to. Do you know what the to particle means? There's basically
Um,
three of them.
Uh, was wait, okay. There's the and for the nouns, but this is the other one. Was this like the if or when?
You're right, it is an if/when statement, but to has 100%
Okay.
possibility, is what makes it special. And
Right.
it's used a little bit different in past tense, like the sentences, right? It's hoeta, ta, past tense. So because it's being used in past tense, it means immediately afterwards.
Uh-huh.
So it says immediately after doing that, the dinosaur lifts up its front leg and barks again. So the immediately afterwards is referring to the previously mentioned item, action, right? Which was Jack trying to get a little bit closer to Annie, right? So right after Jack went to get a little bit closer to Annie, the Anatosaurus went over, picked up his leg, and barked once again. So that's what suruto means. And it'll be in the dictionary as after that. Basically, they just translated it. But it's literally just the literal translation of this right after this action. The action is suru in the
Mhm.
previous. Zapik, next line for you.
これ以上は気がつけない。ジャッキは腰をかがめて兄に合図して。Closer than this, he can't get any closer.
はいはい。
腰をかがめて。腰。
Koshi is like your lower back area, your butt.
Okay.
So he's basically
かがめて is,
bending right here.
yeah. に合図した。I has to do with like meeting, right? I don't,
You're right. Ao can mean the meat. Specifically, ao means like to
yeah.
match. Do you know what the zu means? Like from tizu or zukan?
Yeah, it's like diagram.
It is diagram. So a meeting diagram
Yeah.
or a matching diagram means signal. So he's giving her a
Ah,
signal. He's like pointing at something or whatever. Okay, so he can't get any closer, so he starts gesturing at his little sister. And then Grayson, next line goes to you.
兄、外、こっち、へきるんだ。Um, I'm guessing any come here.
Yes, come here. And he wants her to come here in a very specific kind of way using this to. So this to is the third meaning of to. So we have and between nouns, when between
Uh-huh.
verbs. What is this last to? Do you know? Soto. It's the final, this is the last way to is used.
I'm not sure.
The last to is quotation to.
Ah,
It's
yeah.
used when you're quoting a sound. Grammarly, quotation to is an adverb marker, right? We're describing the verb in some kind of quality using to, either as what they said or something like that. And this book, as you can see, doesn't use quotation to all that often because you actually don't use it that often in novels, especially if it's obvious who's talking. It's really just used if they want to like specify. So here we're talking about a sound that is being made, which is a so. So if he says, Annie, come here making a so sound, he's not telling her to say so when you're walking over here. He's telling her to come here softly. So to kochi kurunda. So he's basically saying tiptoe your way over here. Come so that you make a so kind of sound rather than a zoom type of sound. So you'll see this a whole lot in Japanese, where you'll have some kind of sound with normally a glottal stop then to, but it doesn't necessarily need a glottal stop. It can the other if it's normally either going to be glottal stop to or repeat to, right? Where the sound will repeat twice, and that kind of makes you know, oh yeah, that's probably a sound effect, which is then describing the way in which the verb is done. So come here in a way that makes this sound, as in come here softly. Next line goes to Zepik.
兄が立ち上げろとしたので、ジャックは慌てていった。So Annie was about to stand up, but Jack said in a panic
は
the
いはい。
following.
Oh wait, what did you translate this as?
She was about to stand up,
Yes, perfect. Never mind.
or she tried to
Next
stand up.
line,
Yeah.
you're totally right. Next goes to Grayson.
Yeah.
立っちゃダメだ。ゆっくりは手くるんだ。
Hi, hi, perfect. So, this cha, you probably don't know that. Tacha, tacha. So, this is a slurring, of course, which is why, cha should be like tewa, I believe. Tatte wa dameda. What did we just learn about wa?
It was the topic that gets
It's the
stressed.
topic. You see, for once, we're actually saying the topic marking the verb. Tacha, tatewa. But we would never say tatewa because if we're going to be, this is such a dramatic situation. You're talking out loud. You're going to be slurring it. You're going to say tacha. But this should be tewa. It's more commonly seen as dewa, right? But tate is te form versus de. So dewa becomes ja. That's the slurring of dewa. So tate. Tatewa. What does tate mean?
To stand.
To stand. So what is standing? Tatte wa dameda.
Um,
You know what dame means? Dame.
no.
Dameda. Dame means no good, bad. So he's saying you can't stand. Standing is bad. And right, the subject of the sentence isn't standing. I mean it is standing, but like the subject is more like you shouldn't stand, not like standing in general, right? But he's putting extra focus on the standing, right? Tachadameda! Do not stand. Standing is bad. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah, that's just a fun little example of having wa, describing a verb, since we were talking about that. And the next part is yukkuri. Hatte kuru nda. So, nda. You'll ignore that for now. That's theoretically pronoun now, but it doesn't translate well into English. So, yukkuri hotte kuru. Do you know what kuru means? Sorry, hatte. I keep thinking it's
To
hotte.
come.
Perfect. And hatte probably means crawl. It does mean that, crawl. I always feel like it should be whole. So this is to crawl. So he says, crawl here in this kind of way. We have an adverb. Yukkuri. Do you know what yukkuri means?
Is it like quickly?
Opposite, actually. Yukkuri means to take your
Oh,
time and
slowly.
be cautious with something. It's different than just saying slowly, as the yukkuri feels like you're taking, it's more like being diligent and you slowly doing something kind of idea. You're taking your
Like
time.
cautiously?
Yes, it gives off a do it cautiously kind of idea. Make sure you're not making any sudden movements. And the next line goes to Grayson.
兄は木蓮の花を持ったままジャックの方へそろ、そろそろとは、
Nope, hai dasu.
はい、
Wa is a
は
good
い
guess
だ
because wa can go anywhere, but it's going to be hai dasu because we just saw hatte. That's the same verb right there.
ぜ、はい出した。Um, so Annie is the topic.
Yep, we're talking about Annie. She's also the subject of the sentence because most commonly they are.
Mhm. Um,
Do you know what mama means?
no.
So we'll delete this for now and we'll go do that later then. So then we have to go to the
Okay.
verb, which is haidasu. Well, it's easy. It's just we're just gonna do what you can do first and then do what you can't. Annie wa haidasu. We just saw the verb hai, the hau from hatte kuru. What was the thing that Jack told Annie to do a second ago? 立っちゃダメだ!
To,
ゆっくり張ってくる.
to crawl.
To crawl. So he's telling her to crawl here in a very specific kind of way. Well, not really. This is the narrator telling us. She hai dases. Do you know what dasu means?
Um, it looks like to exit, but I'm not
Yes,
sure
it
what
is
this.
commonly translated as exit. It's a little bit different than the English word exit, as dasu actually means to appear. It gives an
Oh.
idea of there being an inside location and then a bigger outside location. So exiting, right? If you're exiting out of a building, right? Building small, outside big. That's what you use
Mhm.
dasu. Versus haidu is the opposite, right? Haidu would be in the outside location, and then you're inside the little location. So because dasu is a little bit different than the English meaning, when you're literally going down to it, it's used in so many more ways in Japanese than just exiting out of a building. It's also used when you're coming out onto stage, right? Because when you have a stage, the area behind the stage is going to be more cramped, and you come out into the open, and someone has come out and said, "Hello, I'm here to perform my play." But if you said they exited the stage in English, absolutely opposite meaning. That would mean the person left the stage, is no longer on stage, versus in Japanese, it means they're out on stage. Just because of that slightly difference of meaning, of connotation. Even though it's used to mean exit out of a building, it's because the idea is that small area, big area. So here, dasu is also commonly used to mean to start or something, but this is like high dasu is like the crawl out. To crawl out is how this would be translated in its context, because she's right between these two nests, if you remember, right here. This is Annie. So she's in a smaller location, and the goal, right, is to get out from this location to the bigger, more wide location of not in between the two nests. So that's why it's dasu, to come out. So exiting is a fine way to translate it in this context, but I just wanted to specify that for as we get more and more sentences on, because it's a very common compounder. So Annie, she crawls out, and then we have this toe. What does the toe particle tell us? Soro soro to.
Okay, this is a sound effect, so
You're
how
right.
she's doing it.
It's how she's doing it perfectly, and that basically means you can totally ignore it because adverbs are not actually important. They're just telling you like vibes of the sentence. Soro
Hmm.
soro sounds cautiously. That's the kind of vibe, the slowly it. So it's similar to yukuri, but yukuri isn't really a sound effect. So it'd be like so you could have said they could have said yukuri to haidashita, but it sounds more boring to say that. Soro Soro sounds more like I'm watching something happen and she's totteringly getting her way through something. Um, versus Yukuri sounds like you're using your brain to do it. That makes sense. So the vibes are different, even though they're describing the same action. So she slowly crawls out. And where does she crawl out to? What's her destination?
Um, is
Jack
it the
whole eh.
part that's covered or what?
I don't know.
Where- Oh,
Eh.
Jaku. Oh, Jaku no Bo?
Whole.
Hole. Um, what's hole?
Whole. Whole is a weird word. It kind of means direction or side as like a literal meaning. So here it's like the direction, I would say, it's how I would translate it. Jack
Okay,
no
so
hole.
she crawls out to Jack's side.
Exactly. Wherever Jack is. Yep, to that direction with our eh. toward there. And now it's time for mama, the part you didn't know. Mama wasn't really important for the sentence as we went down, and remember the main part of the sentence is that Jack wa haidashita. Annie crawled out. And the second most important was where she crawled out, toward Jack. And everything else was just our nice old flavor text. So mama means while present state is continuing. So it's very similar to the word while. And we can still use while in this sentence. There's only a couple sentences that you can't really use while. But just so Annie, while she is doing what? Hana o motta.
Holding flowers.
Exactly. So while Annie is holding flowers, she crawls out gingerly in the direction that Jack is. And then Zevik. Next line is for you.
その後ろから、アナトサウルスがぼーっと吠えながらついてくる。So behind that, the dinosaur is barking with a whole sound and following.
Exactly.
Or
Perfect.
while following. Yeah.
Yep. Which is kind of funny. Like it's already there barking at her, like right on her tail. Like, I guess like running will trigger the attack instinct. Grayson, next line goes to you.
兄は足がすくんで、また動けなくなってしまった。
Perfect. Do you remember what shimatta meant?
しまった。
Shimatta.
No, I don't.
You gotta watch more anime. You'll hear that all the time in anime. Shimatta! It literally means I've done it, is the literal translation of it, or it's been done. But it's used like a damn it, darn, oh well, I'm sad this action has occurred word. Like it's not like a bad word necessarily. It just means you're denoting sadness that something has happened. Shimatta. And the thing that was sad is that Annie, she ugoke nakunatte. So this is kind of hard. Our verb natta here is naru. Do you know what naru means?
Naru.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So do you know what neko means?
A cat.
Yeah, so neko ni naru means to become a cat. Like with a jumonde, the magical spell.
Okay.
Jumonde neko ni naru, to become a cat from a magical spell. So something has come. Annie has become something. She has become ugoke naku. Naku. Do you know what this grammar is right here? This naku. Why is this here?
Was that the thing where you are joining verbs?
Kind
Or
of.
you're
You're
adjectives
joining
and then-
adjectives. Yes. You're taking an e adjective and turning it into an adverb by adding ku. So this is ugokenai. What does ugokenai mean?
I want to say it's like moving something.
Yes. Cannot move. So what happened to Annie? Ugokenakunatte. She came to be?
She became not moving, so
Exactly. She came to be unable to move. And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's bad.
It's so bad. Shimatta. We're not happy about this. And what happened before, basically, she became unable to move, is that something happened to her legs. Ashiga skunda. Skunda is not super common, so it makes sense why you don't know that word, but it means to freeze, normally from fear. So her legs freeze because the right behind her, the dinosaur is starting to chase after her. So Annie, her legs freeze, and once again, she becomes unable to move. Poor Annie, she is terrified.
Is there a difference between foot and leg?
No.
Okay.
You have to use contacts to know. which they're talking about. Unlike ude and te has a difference. Next line goes to Grayson.
あー、大丈夫。落ち着いて、ジャックが静かな声でいた。うんOkay, we have um Jack is saying something. Um he's saying oh daijoubu,
Mm,
ochitsuite. I mean the daijoubu is he's saying it's all right.
it's all right. Ochuite. Do you know what ochiru means?
No.
Ochiru is to fall down, but ochichite is used like that metaphorically. If you're attaching small fall down to yourself, that means calm down, stay calm. It's going to be fine. Be calm.
Okay, so he's saying it's okay, calm down. Um what is the shizu? A shizuka kana the koi was the
Shizu,
voice.
shizuka means quiet, soft.
Ah, quiet. Okay, okay. So he says in a quiet voice.
Yes, perfect. And next line goes to Zapik.
兄は震えながらまたゆっくりと進み始めた。Annie, while she was like shivering, she again slowly continues. Slowly begins to continue.
Perfect. And the next line goes to Grayson.
ジャックも少しずつ兄の方に近寄った。Um, well, okay, we have the mole, we have just the mole. Okay. Also Jack. Um, and then to Annie's side.
Chikayotta.
Chica, that was nearby, I think.
Chikai means nearby. Chikai, and it has the exact same first verb here. And then we added a new verb here, which is yoru. Yoru means to approach, to get close to something. So chikayoru is to get closer to something. So Jack, he also gets closer to Annie in a skoshizutsu kind of way. Skoshizutsu. What does that mean?
Squishy is like a little bit.
You're right. And zutsu means like one by one. So it kind of insinuates he goes scooch, 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 rather than going scooch, 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 scooch. Like it feels more like a move a little bit, pause when you're hearing like the zutsu little by little versus like
Mhm.
just crouching and walking the whole way. もう少し, あともう少し. And he says just a little bit closer, just a little bit closer. And then all the way to here is going to go to Zapik.
ジャックが手を伸ばして姉の手を掴んだ。I'll just translate that. Jack reaches out his hand and grabs Annie's hand. 兄を引き寄せると頭を下げてと言いながら地面にうつぶせた。Let's see. 引き寄せると Is it like 寄せる
Yoseru is the same verb we saw earlier with chikayoru, but it
Oh
has
yeah,
like different, it's transitive and transitive pair, so it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
I guess I'm wrong
Uh,
actually, but it's same meaning. Oh wait, no, it is the same verb. I typed it wrong.
but yeah, he's pulling Annie
Mm-hmm. In
uh,
what
and
direction?
saying
The Yoseru tells you.
towards him.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, lower your head, he says. While
Perfect.
saying that, 夢に潰した.
Well, what did he literally
Uh,
say a second ago? That's their context.
what do you mean?
Well, he said atama o sageru, and then he does an
Yeah,
action. These are related.
潰した.
So atama o sageru, you translated that right. What did that mean again?
Yeah, lower your head.
Lower your head. So utsubusu is related to that action, but he doesn't lower his head like bowing. He does what to the ground with his head, do you think?
夢?
That's
Oh,
what
I don't
ground
know.
is. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
G is the earth and men is the face. So the face of the earth is the ground. So to the ground, he
Um,
face plants, right? He lowers his head to the ground. So utsubusu seru is the verb that means face down, basically. So he faces
I
down
see.
on the earth after saying, "Lower your head," right? He's trying to make her duck down there. And then two about here is going to go to Grayson.
何か噛んでるふりをするんだ。どうして、うん、噛んでる。I'm pretty sure どうして is how.
どうして can mean how, I guess. Do you know what kind of question word that is?
Oh wait, どう is how.
It can be how. Do you know what kind of question word do is? Like, what is it asking a
Um,
question about, right? For example, what asks a question of thing, right? Or
like the
who.
action maybe?
Yes, it is a question of action. Perfect. So, どうして in this context is meaning why should I do that action?
Ah, okay.
どうして But it is a question of action. Questioning
Mm-hmm.
action to do. But in this context, どうして is more commonly translated as why. Why should we um, uh, do the other one? 何か噛んでるふりをするんだ. You know what ふり means? That's the most important part there, I'd say.
I don't know.
ふり is a noun which means to imitate. So do imitating of 噛んでる. 噛んでる is 噛む, which means to bite something. So he says, pretend to bite something. なんで? Why? And we'll go see why in the explanation of the next lines, Epic.
犬に襲われたら、そうしろっていつか本で読んだ。えー、you should do that when a dog is following you.
Mm-hmm.
You had read that in a book.
Yep, I read that in a book. 襲われたら. Which is so random. You should pretend to bite something when a dog is chasing you down. 襲われてる is being yeah, is attacking you. So weird.
Oh yeah.
Well, this
Um,
information is coming from a 7-year-old, so
that is true. That
it
is
was a
true.
9. Okay, remember.
あれは犬じゃないわ, to Annie. And he says, well, that's not a dog, you know. That's what Annie says. And then what does Jack say, Grayson?
胃から kamu furio shite to jaku. So here we have the furi again of
Mm-hmm.
imitate and the
Kamui.
same.
So kamu is the same kanderu.
Yeah, okay, I see that now. And this kamu is to bite.
Yes.
To bite. Ikara, like E is good and kara is like because.
Because it's good. Yeah, it's a great way to translate it. Ikara is mostly used to mean like, listen to what I'm saying, like as far as English saying. It's like type of word, like, leave that be, it's fine. You should do this anyway, you know? Put that thought down type of idea. It's almost
Yeah,
always
so he's
used like a
saying,
listen to me.
listen to me, pretend to bite, Jack says,
Yep,
or said.
perfect. 二人は地面に頭をつけて草を噛んでいるふりをした。And the two of them, they put their heads down onto the dirt and they began to pretend to be biting the grass. Do, 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 do. And then our next line is going to go to Grayson again.
やがて、アナトセウルスが吠えるのをやめた。So this dinosaur is the subject, and then 吠える. Wait. We had hoe was the direction, but I think
Ho is
hoeru.
direction. Hoeru is a verb.
Oh,
Ho.
yes, hoeru was barking.
It was.
No. Oh,
Yameta.
yameta. What's yameta?
Yameru is to stop something. What does the Anatosaurus stop doing?
Yeah, it stops barking.
It stopped barking. Perfect. And it does that, when does it stop barking?
Yagate.
Yagate.
Is this like the suruto?
It's similar. It is a time phrase. Yagate means finally. It doesn't necessarily have a time connotation in it, but it's used right before you reach the goal word. Which the goal, right? The reason why they started faking biting the grass is that they wanted the Anatosaurus, right, to stop barking at them and chasing after them. So this is like the goal, right? This is action's the goal. So because of that, we use yagate as our finally word. But the actual time it took doesn't really matter with yagate. It could have been like 2 seconds later, but normally you assume it took a little bit to do it, but the main focus is like, okay, we reached our goal. We hit that action that we were hoping to occur from the previous other thing kind of idea. We've hit some kind of like marker. And the next little bit goes to Zapik.
ジャックは頭を上げていった。どうやら落ち着いたらしい。So Jack lifts his head and says, it seems like it calmed down.
Exactly, perfect. Somehow we managed to do it. Right? Some kind of action. Do. And then the next paragraph goes to Grayson.
ありがとう、お兄ちゃん。兄がいよと、ジャックは少し遠くになっていた。 Um, so thank you, brother. And he said,
What kind of toe is this? We have the three different toes. Which one
oh,
is it?
wait. I thought it was the toe for said, but now
It is
I'm
not the
wondering.
toe for said, but good guess, and it's right
Okay.
next to said. So it's not quotation toe. What toe is
Um,
it?
um, when she said that,
It is the win. Yes. So right after Annie says, "Thank you, big brother," what happened?
um, Jack, um, uh, said something.
You're right. He said something, and then what else did he do? He nattes. What is this nadu verb?
To become
He becomes skoshi. What does skoshi mean?
a little bit.
You're right. He becomes a little bit tokui. Tokui means to like feel like feel good about yourself. He's like, hey, I got mad skills. You're right. And the next paragraph goes to Zapek.
考えてもみるよ。違って赤ちゃんがいたら、そばに、お母さんがいるって、決まってるじゃん。Think a little. There, when there is a nest and babies, there's bound to be a mother close by.
Hi. Perfect. And the next paragraph goes to Grayson.
ジャックが言い終わらないうちに兄はもう立ち上げていた。
Do you know what owaru means?
Heard it before.
Close. Not before. Owaru. Do you know what owari means? Owari da.
Was it like to end?
It is to end. So I owaru means we're combining these two ideas together. What do you think this compound word means?
To finish talking?
Exactly. So owaranai. So now we're in the negative form. Owaranai. I owaranai. What does that mean?
Not being finished talking.
Exactly. Jack has not finished talking. Then we have uchi. This is a time
Home.
phrase. It can mean home. You're correct. It can also mean like I in a like a we kind of way. But the other one is a time phrase. And in this context,
Oh.
time makes more sense than being one's home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we would make the assumption that it's time and not a home. Uchi basically means that we're referring to an endpoint, and this is occurring normally before that endpoint. So the endpoint, right, would be when Jack iowaris, right? This is the endpoint right here. So he stops talking, but this action is occurring before that point. So somewhere over here is why we're using that when. If you said iowaranai toki, that would feel like you're talking about the whole time kind of, or the vibes are just very different. Because we're saying before he finishes talking, right? So it's kind of like adding a before. Before Jack finishes talking, that's kind of what uchi as a time phrase is. What happened? Annie.
More touch agate. Annie stands up.
Hi, what does mo mean?
Um,
Moichido no mo. Do you know what moichido itte kudasai means?
no.
Oh, that's like a common like first sentence that you like learn in like a Japanese class. Moichido itte kudasai means please say that once more. The more is the mo in the sentence. So mo tachiagatte means stand once more, stand again. We're just adding again. So it's a lot like mada, but mada has like different meanings. Mada can also mean like not yet, but mo only means again. The next two paragraphs are going to go to Zapik.
兄、ジャックはまた間に合わなかった。兄は、アナトサウルスに近寄りと木蓮の花を差し、差し出していた。え兄、ジャック、間に合わなかった。
Mani ao. The ma here is the kanji for Ida, which is used for a space of time, and ao is our to meet. So to meet a space of time means to make it in time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he didn't make it in time.
Exactly.
兄、近寄ると。She gets close to the dinosaur and then reaches out like the flowers and says,
So reaches out the flowers is probably correct, but I want you to just tell me what exactly you're picturing with that, because I feel like you used the wrong English word, but I do think you know what this means.
well, I'm not sure about the sashi.
So sashi dasu, right, to make something appear, the dasu that makes it appear, and sasu is like to stab word.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
different kanji here, but it's a similar like formation. She's stabbing her hand out with flowers, making the flowers appear. So sashi dasu means to offer up something, but it gives off a
Yeah.
very like when the kid puts their hand out like this, and then there's like something in here. So this is her flower. It gives off very much that visual that you're presenting out your hand, that whatever item you want to show somebody, rather than like
Yeah.
any other kind of option. It's just like you're sticking your hand out as you're doing this. So she presents a flower to the dinosaur and says the next line, which goes to Grayson.
さっきは、ごめんなさい。赤ちゃんが心配だったのね。Saki is that like the one where it's like both ahead and previous?
Yeah. In this context, it's previous.
Previous. ごめんなさい, sorry. Akachan is baby. The shin is probably related to the kokoro.
Shinpai? You're right. The shin is the same kanji as kokoro. Shinpai means to be worried.
Previous, sorry, worried about the baby, something like?
Yeah. So what does wa mean?
The topic.
It is the topic. Saki ga gomennasai doesn't actually make any sense. So this is actually not the subject of the sentence. She's gomennasai means I'm sorry, right? So
Yeah.
I guess theoretically I am the subject of the sentence. So
Or
what
like I'm
if
sorry for before.
I'm sorry for before is exactly what she's saying right there. I'm sorry for before. Saki. Saki wa gomennasai. So the wa is making it very obvious I'm talking about what we did before. We're adding stress to that. And then she's talking about this dinosaur, right? Akachan ga shinpai datta no ne. You were really worried about your babies, weren't ya? That's why it decided to honk at us and chase after us. The it literally says babies were a worry because it's a noun, 心配. The babies had caused you worry, basically. And I'm gonna have us stop here, even though we don't get a nice picture. So rude. Any questions before we go? Oh, that's the wrong button. If not, you guys are free.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you guys next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.